Good morning. My name is Barb Melera. I'm with the heirloom horticultural company known as Harvesting History. We sell heirloom seeds, heirloom plants, heirloom roots and sets and bulbs and tubers, and also a line of heirloom design vintage gardening tools. We have begun a series on planting herbs in containers because we've heard from a lot of our customers that they'd love to have a garden, but they have no space to put a garden, but they do have a patio or a deck or a porch. And so for those people who can't or don't want to grow their herbs in a garden, we've started this series. And today we're going to talk about one of the most beloved herbs on this planet, and that is chamomile. Now we want you to see that this chamomile has been grown in a relatively small pot. It's an 8-inch diameter pot. Yes, it does look a bit scraggly at this point because it's at the end of the season and soon this chamomile will be dying back. But the thing we want to emphasize is if you're growing herbs and you want an abundance of herbs and you can only grow them in containers, the containers don't have to be huge. An 8-inch container will support a very healthy chamomile plant. Chamomile has been with us for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. The first written mention of chamomile occurred around 1550 BC, not AD, but BC. And it has been used medicinally for a variety of reasons, again, for thousands and thousands of years. But the thing to remember is now that we've done a lot of scientific research on this plant, the thing to remember is it's not so much the tea that is made from the flowers, it is more the oils that can be extracted from the entire plant, including a small amount from the flowers. And that oil is a very good anti-inflammatory. Beyond that, other medicinal purposes that have been ascribed to this plant have not all been verified by medical research. The plant was indigenous to Southern and Eastern Europe and also to Western Asia, in particular the Caucasus Mountains, Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan. And it was cultivated there for at least 4,000 or 5,000 years. This is an old companion of mankind. Let's teach you how to grow this lovely, lovely herb. What you want to do first is make your own soil mix. We recommend a certain recipe, and in order to give you some background on why we are so strongly in favor of this recipe, we have been growing plants in containers for 18 years to learn as much as we could about the soil mix, the size of the container, and also what does best in containers and what doesn't do so well in containers. In that 18 years, each year we have done 300 or more plantings, which means that over the course of 18 years, we've done more than 5,000 plantings of many different kinds of plants in containers. So the recipe I give you today is the one we have had the most success with. It starts with what we call crummy backyard soil. Now, many people will say, I'm not using my crummy backyard soil. I don't know what's in it. It's horrible. It's full of glass. It's full of rocks. That's okay. That's okay. A lady about 10 years ago said to me, I don't think I can use my crummy backyard soil because my backyard is concrete. And I had to agree with her. Probably it wouldn't work. So if you don't want to use crummy backyard soil, What we want you to do is go to Home Depot or Lowe's or your local garden center and buy topsoil. This is the cheapest soil that's sold at a garden center or Home Depot or Lowe's. In a 40-pound bag, it will cost you between $3 and $4. This is the soil you want. You don't want topsoil with manure. You don't want topsoil with X, Y, and Z. You just want the topsoil. And how much do you want? You want 6 scoops, 6 parts. The parts don't matter. It's how much soil you need. So if a Tupperware container works for you, if a cup measuring works for you, whatever works for you, you need 6 parts. 6 parts. 6 of these scoops as the first part of your soil recipe. Now, I've already mixed the soil recipe, so I'm not going to bury through this bag for 6 more scoops. But you remember, 6 scoops of topsoil and then manure. And you want 2 scoops of manure. Now, we've got cow manure here. You can use any kind of manure that you love. You can use chicken poop. You can use llama poop. You can use rabbit poop. You can use cow poop. It doesn't matter as long as it's poop and it's been processed, which means it's been allowed to cook and is not fresh out of the animal. So you do 6 topsoils, you do 2 compost or manures, and then finally you do 2 scoops of peat moss. A lot of our younger customers have expressed a desire for sustainability reasons not to use peat moss, and they've asked about coconut coir. Coconut coir is fine. It doesn't do quite the job that peat moss does, but it does a fine job and it will grow your plants into beautiful mature plants. So 6 parts topsoil, 2 parts manure, and 2 parts peat moss, and that's your soil mix. And then you vigorously mix all these things together. Once you've made your soil mix, then you're going to put some of that soil mix into the pot and load the soil mix up to within 1 inch of the top of the pot. Then with your hands, just create a hole large enough for your chamomile seedling. And then take your chamomile seedling, place it in the pot, bring the soil up and around, press firmly around the stem of the seedling so it doesn't wiggle. And that seedling will be this plant in 2 months. 2 months. This seedling will be this plant in 2 months. Many of us have experienced the calming effect that a cup of chamomile tea with a touch of honey has. But let me explain how you get that tea. The tea is brewed from the flowers of the chamomile plant, and it takes quite a few flowers to brew a tea. You pick the flowers when they're very young, at these 2 stages. If you notice, in this stage, the petals, the white petals, are pointing up or they're flat. See that if I turn it? You can also harvest the flowers when the petals have just begun to fold back. If I turn it like this, you can see how these petals are beginning to lay back. The best teas are not brewed when the flowers look like this. They still have their petals, but their petals are now flattened to the back of the center of the flower. And you most likely should not use flowers that have lost all of their petals. A tea brewed from the flowers that look like this has the strongest calming effect. So remember that if you're brewing tea, harvest the flowers, brew the tea from the flowers, and make sure that the petals have been in the right position. Let's talk just briefly about seedlings versus seeds when it comes to chamomile. In many of the videos we're going to present to you on growing herbs in containers, I tell you to start the plant from a cutting from another plant. But chamomile grows prolifically from seed. So either buy the seed in the store or have a friend give you some flowers. Take the flowers, put them on something like a foil sheet laying in a four-sided cookie sheet, and let the seeds dry, and then just sprinkle them literally. Let's take this one and just see all those things on my dirty black gloves. Those are all seeds. And unfortunately, even though this hasn't dried, seeds are so vigorous from chamomile plants, some of these are actually going to germinate. Cover them with a tiny, tiny bit of soil, a dusting of soil, and you'll have more chamomile plants than you want by a long shot. So when it comes to chamomile, I strongly suggest that you start the chamomile from seeds. You will be successful even if you've never grown a single thing from seed. With chamomile, you'll grow it from seed. I hope you've enjoyed this video and learned something from it. Please look at several of our other planting herbs in container videos. I think you may learn something from them as well.
If you have enjoyed this video, please come to our website, www.harvesting-history.com, where you can purchase heirloom, non-GMO vegetables, flowers, and herbs. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends our channel. On the left side of your screen, there is our most recent video, and on the right side of your screen is one of our playlists. We are Harvesting History, seeding the future.